preach.
Yeah.
But so what I think, I'm just gonna obviously just cut the beginning the intro and just throw it on this, so we won't do another intro.
Okay.
But I mean, we can go for as long as I can go.
Okay.
So if you want to redo the whole thing, if I have time, I'm more than happy to do that. I listen,
Okay.
like I said, I listened to the other side, and it's good stuff, but it would be easier if it was just all in one go.
Yeah, let's just bang it out.
Okay.
No worries.
All right. Well, let's just start at the beginning, Dave.
Well,
Let's
well,
start where
hang,
you were
hey,
birthed.
hang on, because I'm gonna
Oh,
have to flush in a second.
okay.
I don't think you necessarily want that on air,
Right.
but
No.
it would humanize me for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd make you real.
Hey, where exactly do you now? This will be edited out, but where exactly do you live in Canada anyway?
I live in London, so it's about an hour and a half west of Toronto.
Okay.
So yeah, right in the Great Lakes area.
Yeah,
I live an hour, not even an hour, like about 40 minutes each way. I can be at two different Great Lakes.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
and that's where your girlfriend is. She your fiance, girlfriend, wife? What is she?
She's my girlfriend.
Okay, and that's where she's from.
Yeah, she's from this area. Yep. But once I become, so I'm still in process of becoming a resident, like getting my green card
Yeah.
is the equivalent in the States. So once we get that done, we're gonna move to the West Coast, just like British Columbia and kind of Vancouver. We're gonna move to Victoria, which is the island. It's called Vancouver Island.
No, dude, I know. That's where we went on our honeymoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bushart Gardens, and man, I love that area.
Yeah, that's she lived there for 10 years and she loves it. So we're gonna go back
Yeah.
there.
Have you been then?
I've never been, no. I've only been
Oh, you're,
in Ontario. Yeah, my mom lives in Washington, and everyone else is, it's closer to Utah. It's just
yeah,
I don't love it out here. The East Coast doesn't match my personality very well.
yeah. East Coast is it. I was surprised to hear that it's like that in Canada because as a rule, my East Coast or my Canadian friends are typically more polite and more stable than my American friends. But I guess the East Coast, bigger cities are bigger cities. But I went to Toronto once. Of course, I was drunk most of the time, so I guess that doesn't really have a. I can't really judge it because I was drunk. So
Well, and I think as an entertainer, they're probably more accepting of you.
that's probably true.
I haven't, if I bring up anything about the US, it is just a shit show. Like
Yeah. Well,
I'm really surprised at the level of animosity that Canadians have towards the US.
really.
Yeah, they
Well,
really, it's subtle. It definitely is subtle, but you can get them heated quick if you want to start talking about, the differences between the US and Canada.
and how we're better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem is because, they don't, I don't know. I call it the little brother syndrome, and they hate it when I call it that. But that's that's
I
how
get
it
what you're saying.
feels. That's how it feels to me. It's like
Yeah.
they're the little brother, because we're so close. Canada hates, if they're like America Junior, and they hate
Yeah.
being called that because it's the
Oh, sure.
same. There's
When are you a little brother?
what? No, I'm a big brother.
Okay. Then I bet if you went up to your younger siblings and said, "Hey, you're like Ty Junior," they'd
Yeah,
you.
exactly. 100%. Well, and it's even the same way as like my little brother wanted to be so different than me because I was this rebel and everything, and he's, super Mormon,
Sure.
the complete opposite of me. And I feel like Canada tries to do that in some aspects. Like they're just, I don't know. So
So when somebody's super Mormon, do they have like when they tear open their shirt, their garments have an S on them?
yeah, I think his do.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Just
think
checking.
it's over the nipples.
Super Mormon. By the way, this is again just between you and me, but I I played around with comedy a little bit, and I the Mormon gang signs are the compass and the square, right? uh, did you ever go to the temple or anything?
No,
Oh, okay.
I've seen, so because I was real interested because, my brother's been to the temple and I'm always into what I've, excluded from. And if you look on YouTube, there's a guy who went through the temple with a GoPro hidden. And so
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
yeah, so I've
Yep.
seen like kind of some of the stuff, but it didn't make sense to me. No one was there to explain it. I was just like, I don't know what the
Right.
fuck's going on.
Well, anyway, the on their symbols on their garments, one is compass and one is the square on their nipples.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, they're old Masonic markings.
Right. Yeah, I knew one was like a triangle, kind of like an unfinished triangle, and then I knew the other one was like a plus sign, but I had no idea that's what they were to represent.
Yeah, compass and the square. Yeah. But okay, well, hey, we should get to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
I have wiped my bum, and I have washed
Okay.
my hands.
And flush the toilet.
No, I thought I'd leave a surprise for my wife.
The old surprise, the
Yeah.
old toilet present.
Well, who doesn't like presents?
Yeah. Nobody doesn't like presents.
It's a gift.
It's a-
Okay.
All right, so let's just start at the beginning. Where were you? Where did you enter the world?
I was born in a little town in Arizona, in the mountains of Arizona, a little teeny place called Pine Top Lakeside. My parents ran a grocery store. Actually, they had a very small chain of grocery stores, like 3 links.
What, can you say what they were called?
Yeah, Wilbur's Markets.
Oh, that sounds nice.
So, yeah, there's still one in existence in St. John's, Arizona, but my family doesn't own it anymore.
So they bought it out and kept the name?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, my grandfather was a very prominent person in that particular town in St. John's, and that's where my dad was born. And then my dad he died a couple of years ago, but he was a prominent person in the whole region. Helped start the local community college, for example.
Oh, wow.
All this stuff. Great man. My dad was a great man, and I had a great childhood. I did. I know a lot of people in recovery can't say that they had wretched childhoods, but I had a great childhood. I really did.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad was, yes, too rough on us. That was kind of his generation. I don't want to make excuses, and my mom was very much a codependent, enabler kind of person. But they, all in all, I always knew that I was loved, and they tried their best to provide physically for us, but material a bit. Also, just to give us self-esteem and love, and it worked for the most part. I think, at least me, I felt like I was loved all the way I was growing up. Maybe a little too much, maybe a little entitled actually sometimes. But
Did you?
what are you gonna do?
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I am the youngest of 6.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
brothers, sisters?
4 sisters, older sisters, and then my brother who's 4 years older than I, and then me bringing up the rear.
Huh. So you were mostly, but your sisters were quite a deal older than you.
Well, yeah, they crammed the 4 girls in the family pretty quickly. I think they had 4 girls in 8 years, and then they waited another 4 for my brother, and another 4 for me.
Oh, wow.
So I'm 8. Yeah, I'm 8 years younger than my youngest sister.
Oh.
My oldest sister died and she was in a car wreck when she was 17, and I was not quite 2.
Yeah. And was she driving or passenger?
Yeah, she was actually racing. There was a guy in our little town that challenged, at least my understanding from what I've been told. She raced this guy driving our family station wagon, and he was like, "Oh, you know what? That's just because your car's better. Girls can't drive." And she had the classic Wilbur family FU streak running through her, and she said, I'll drive your car. Let's go." And she came around a corner too fast and had a run in with a pine tree, and the pine tree won. So
Yeah.
And that left a pretty. I mean, that was for me the most childhood trauma I really had was not my trauma. It was the trauma that death left in the wake of her death. You know, my family was devastated.
Right. And do you think that affected how you were raised as far as your parents and that sort of thing?
I do. I think it made me.
Hold on, I gotta throw my cat in the bedroom. He's running around crazy. Yep.
That's what that was. Why your cat's noisy? I think.
Okay, I'm back. No, I don't know what his deal is. This is the first episode he's ever been crazy on.
That's pretty. I mean, it sounds like he's in I don't know, a washing machine or something trying to get out.
We have these wood floors, and so it's terrible for recording because you make any noise and it sounds like an avalanche.
It's kind of funny.
But so your parents had their oldest daughter die, and you said it affected the way you were raised?
Yeah, I don't think it. I don't see how it couldn't. You know, they were pretty devastated by her death, and and it impacted me because found myself. I don't know what it would have been like if I weren't, if the death wouldn't have happened. I don't know. It's hard to say because it did, right? But,
Right.
I don't know if I would have still been the person that I am. If I wouldn't know if I'd be an entertainer today or not.
Why do you
But
say that?
well, because I remember distinctly seeing my parents in pain and thinking, I can make them laugh. I can entertain them. I can take away some of their pain. You know, and I've had to work really hard to get rid of some of that codependence. You know.
Yeah, I definitely have that. I was actually just talking about that with somebody the other day. If I see somebody sad, I go out of my way to try and make them happy to the point where I'm almost not happy.
Mm-hmm. And there's a balance to be struck. I mean, it's a two-edged sword, as it always is. Everything is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm the same way. But that's good because if I walk into a meeting and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I've been at meetings and had people say, you know, Dave, if you wouldn't have stopped and talked to me that day and made me laugh and said and given me hope, I'm not sure I'd be alive right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a key, as not to add more pressure to your already codependent nature, but I think making people laugh is a huge help inside the rooms because
Sure.
you never you don't laugh a lot when you're running and gunning, and to come in and have somebody tell you a joke like, oh yeah, I remember when I came in and I couldn't hold a coffee, like it's just fun.
Yep. But other than that, I had a pretty good childhood. I mean, I cruised along. My dad converted to the LDS church. My mom converted when she was pretty young, but my dad, LDS meaning like the Mormon church for those who don't know.
Right.
My dad was always a member, but he became what they call active after my sister's death. And my mom had converted years before. So all of a sudden I went from being kind of not LDS to LDS. So, and they really threw themselves into the faith. My dad became a bishop, which is like a priest or a pastor, the local congregation. I kind of resented actually the church, as a lot of people call it, because it took my dad away. We used to go like horseback rides and stuff like that when I was a kid, and all of a sudden he got into all these leadership positions in the church, and next thing you know, my dad wasn't there. So
yeah.
But I was able to work that stuff out through my step work.
It's interesting that when I've heard of other people having family tragedies, it's almost the opposite. Like they decide, well, fuck God. But it was the opposite in your family. You had this tragedy and it made your family go more towards religion?
It did. Yep. Well, yeah, that's people tend to go one by the other. So
Right, right. And how old were you when that started to happen?
I don't know. Can't remember.
Pretty young.
Pretty young,
Yeah.
4, 5,
So
6.
you were pretty much, you remember mostly just being raised in the church.
Yeah, I can remember still being members of the church, but not having my dad. It wasn't until I was about maybe 8 that he
Uh,
started doing leadership stuff, and that's when he just, my dad was definitely a workaholic. If I'm going to take his inventory,
yeah.
and I think that included his church work. It was a chance for him to get out of the house and bury himself into something, and didn't have to face his own pain and demons.
Right. Right. So you started what, growing up inside St. Tom, was it St. Thomas?
No, Pine Top Lakeside it was called.
Oh, Pine Top Lakeside.
Hmm.
And so what was that like? I mean, growing up through high school and that sort of stuff.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. And I was a good little Mormon kid. Mormons believe that you shouldn't have premarital sex or even fool around with people of the opposite sex, or and you shouldn't drink, and you shouldn't do tobacco, and you shouldn't really even do caffeinated beverages, especially like coffee and tea and stuff.
Right.
Even though there are a lot of people that will. I heard a joke once. What's the difference between a Mormon and a like a standard Christian?
I don't know.
And the answer is a Mormon, or the temperature of their caffeine, right?
Oh,
So you'll see. I live in Utah, where it's like the capital for the LDS people, and um, they'll have gigantic jugs of Diet Coke or Mountain Dew.
right.
But heaven forbid they should have a cup of coffee. But whatever. Every culture has its quirks, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
But so I grew up pretty innocent. I didn't. I mean, of course, I saw friends getting stoned and getting drunk and stuff like that, and I just had no desire. I was loving life as much as I did. I can't even imagine trying to make it better with chemicals.
Yeah. So you didn't
Yeah.
even have any temptations during your junior high school?
No, I do remember somebody had supposedly spiked a punch at the 8th grade dance, and it was fun to pretend to be drunk. I mean, they didn't know he had actually done it. And I remember
Mhm.
thinking, oh, this would be so much fun, because I could be silly and not even sillier than I was. I'm a pretty silly person in general, but even sillier than I was, if I had the excuse of, oh, I'm drunk, I don't have any accountability for my dancing, right?
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because I was the same way. When I first started smoking weed, I liked it because it allowed me to be myself and it
Yeah.
gave me a pass because I'm a weird dude. And so like I was just able to let my weirdness flow and everyone just wrote it off as, oh, he's high. But it
Yeah,
was just like, no, now I get to be myself. And even,
exactly.
I would fake it sometimes. I would act like I was drunk just so I could be myself.
Yeah.
But
Have you learned from your step work that it's okay to be you?
well, actually, I have in a way, but what happened, it was a really big the thing that changed the way I think about things is it all stemmed from I was with a guy who was new in recovery and he wasn't really into recovery. He was still kind of trying to hold on to that old lifestyle.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go to the club, and so I was like, okay, I'll go. My sponsor had said, if you have a good reason to be there, and I thought I had a good reason. I didn't, but I thought I did.
Yeah.
And so I went to this club, and this drunk lady came up to me. I'd just been standing there on the side, right, not dancing. I was sober. Da 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 da. She came up to me, and she's like, why aren't you dancing? Why aren't you having a good time? And I was like, well, I don't really drink. And she said, nobody knows that. Everyone thinks, she's like,
Wisdom from the
everyone,
drunk lady. That's
yeah.
awesome.
She said, everyone probably thinks you're drunk. And ever since then, it snowballed that idea.
Yeah.
It started with, oh, it's okay to have fun not drinking. And
Sure.
who cares what everyone thinks? They'll either think you're drunk or that you're fun. And then it's snowballed into I gradually built that confidence in, oh, it's okay to have fun, not drunk.
Yeah.
And so as weird as it sounds, it started with that, and then through step work and accepting and learning that I'm a unique person, and it's okay to be that unique person, and that I'm not everyone's cup of tea. That's kind of it started from that, and through the steps, broadened.
Sure.
But
Awesome.
so back to high school and Dave.
Well, I made it all through high school without a drink. Matter of fact, I came. The reason I'm in Utah now is that the LDS church has a college called Brigham Young University, or BYU, and I came up here to go to school. My parents wanted me to. Now, I didn't really want to go to BYU so much. I wanted to go to ASU down in Phoenix,
Right.
Tempe actually, but they were pretty insistent that I go up here, and I said fine. And I was, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's indoctrination is the proper term. And I know that has a pretty charged kind of meaning to a lot of people, but literally I was indoctrinated. It's a church school. They would start every class with a prayer and etc. And eventually I decided, well, you know what? My job is to go on a mission and try to see if I can share this faith with other people, which I did. I went to, when I was 19, I just barely turned 19 in 1985. I went to Venezuela in South America. I already spoke Spanish. I had Spanish 4 years in high school, and then another 2 years equivalent in my freshman year of college. So I hit the ground running, man. I went down to Venezuela and I hit it hard. I was fluent in language, and I kicked some ass.
Did you like being in Venezuela?
I loved the people of Venezuela. Yeah. Looking back, I wish I would have just gone on a humanitarian mission.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish I would have just said, F it, I'm going to go live in this foreign culture just to really experience the culture. But you can't change the past, and I'm really grateful for the friendships and stuff that I made down there. But
what does a typical day in a mission look like?
you wake up, you do some prayer, you do what they call scripture reading, which for Mormons is not just the Bible. There are other scriptures that they have that they believe are revealed in modern days that are so you study those scriptures, and then you basically plan your day. I think I can't remember, dude. It was a long time ago, 3 years ago. And I think they budget for some exercise time, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. And then you go out and you have made hopefully appointments with people to try to teach them what they call the discussions, like basically lessons on how to become a Mormon, and try to convert people. That's it. And if there are no appointments, then you go knock on doors, or you go into the mall and try to, just get people to take pamphlets or whatever. It reminds me of, did you ever see the movie Airplane?
Yeah.
Where all the Hare Krishnas and stuff are trying to give people pamphlets and flowers and stuff. That was me. Yeah.
Just dressed in a more business-like.
Yeah, exactly. But
So,
I've never felt more, talk about ego. I've never felt more self-righteous than I did in those 2 years.
really?
Well, LDS people believe, and this is not going to be a criticism of what actually, technically, I'm still LDS, but since I don't really believe what a lot of people believe, I'm not what they call a true blue Mormon. I'm a cultural Mormon. I go because I go to church still.
Oh, really?
Fairly frequently, yeah. But I don't believe any of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, it needs to change. I go because that's where my neighbors are, and it's really fun, as opposed to sitting in. Can I say our fellowship? Or we can do my name or not?
Well, like I said, if you say the fellowship, I can just cut off your last name if you want.
All right, let's do that.
Okay.
So
yeah. But don't do the hour, because I have to remain.
Oh, yours. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good thing. In my fellowship. Okay.
Yeah.
Or I'll just maybe just say AA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you go into an AA meeting, and there are, of the 100 people in a room, maybe 10 have worked their steps, and another maybe 20 are trying to work them and going to get close. Tell the other 70 are like, why am I here? God stuff is bullshit. Ah.
Yeah.
they're fighting the idea of God, but um, you go to any kind of denomination's faith, and the reason they're in that church right then, or synagogue or whatever, is because they believe they want to get closer to their God. So it's a nice feeling to sit around people who are trying to get close to God. Yeah.
That is
So,
interesting. That's very open-minded of you.
oh well, gracias.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I could go sit in. I've been to a couple because I was raised LDS as well, and I've been to a couple church, meetings as far as like my brother's return. I forget homecoming and those types of things. And it's fine. I enjoy it, and I try to see the similarities rather than the differences. But for me to keep going, the religious aspect is still just such a bad taste in my mouth as far as because my family, not my family, but it was very forceful. The religion, it was that you're doing the wrong thing by not being a part of this,
Right.
and it was very I don't want to use the word traumatic, but detrimental to my emotional state in being in conflict like that. And so it's very hard for me to go back to religions because that's what it brings up. But that's awesome.
Totally get that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that you're able to.
It needs to change, and so you can edit this part out if you want, but I'm believing that there should be a movement, and so I'm trying to push it where it's okay to be a cultural Mormon, right? I know cultural Catholics who can say, oh, you know what? The Pope's my guy, man. I'm a Catholic, yeah. And they go to church 2 or 3 times a year, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And then, if the Pope comes into town, they'll go see the Pope. Hell yeah, they will. Hell, they might even, I don't know, fly to Mexico City to see him.
Yeah.
But as soon as you say, hey, dude, I thought the Pope said, what are you doing? The Pope says you're not supposed to have premarital sex. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're not. What are you using condoms? Yeah, of course we are. But the Pope says not to use condoms. Whatever.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think that's really not okay with most LDS people, and I think that needs to change. So
yeah,
I think it needs to be okay to just say, oh yeah, I don't believe any of this stuff. I don't particularly believe that Joseph Smith was any more of a prophet than you.
Yeah.
So, and to a lot of people that seems like blasphemy, but people have been really kind. They've allowed me to come in and be the little heathen that I am and just sit there, and nobody's giving me crap about it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really neat.
Does.
Yeah, I'm kind of that way with the anonymity side of it. As far as the other fellowships go, I just I feel like there needs to be a cultural shift in that way too. I was going to ask you about that because I was interested in how you thought about it, but it's for me, it's so interesting. Like I definitely see the side of anonymity. I love that I can be anonymous with what programs I'm in, but I also think it needs to be more open-minded as far as it shouldn't be a stigma to be able to say like I was a drug addict and I've amended my ways or whatever. I shouldn't have to hide what I was.
No, yeah, in my fellowship, there are people, Nazis who are like, we just need to talk about alcohol.
Yeah.
I call them Nazis.
Right.
And I get it. I get where they're coming from. I don't agree.
Yeah, I just
and we can agree to disagree, but I don't share the same belief that you have to be this pure thing if you're, because especially in my program, we've got the big book, and the big book for both of the founders of the program, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith, they both mention drugs in their stories in the big book. So it's like, well, wait, if they can talk about drugs, why can't we?
Right.
And I'm saying this as somebody who was never really, other than the very, very tail end right before I got sober, I started using pain pills because I had hurt my back. But other than that, I am just a pure alcoholic, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I get why some people are butthurt about it, as they say here in Utah, butthurt. But whatever, you got a resentment against it. Pick up a pencil and start writing, dude.
Well, and that's what I always look at. I always look at it this way because I try. I mean, I try to be as respectful as I can. I don't go shouting that I use heroin in every AA meeting or oh shit, I'll have to edit that out. I don't go shouting. I try to be respectful of the fellowship I'm in, But whenever I hear somebody say like, "Oh, I only use alcohol," or "I only use crystal meth," both of which aren't this, that's not true in my scenario. I can still see the similarities. It's like saying, "Please don't talk about your divorce because I've never been divorced and I won't understand it." I can understand the hurt of being through a divorce. I've never been divorced, so I don't know exactly what that's like, but I can kind of relate to it. I don't think you shouldn't be able to talk about being divorced in the rooms. I think you should be able to,
Sure.
just like if you're with drugs or whatever. But so let's get back to your story. So you went on your mission, came back home.
Yeah, and when I was on that mission, I felt really, actually, frankly, really powerful. The LDS faith teaches that that the people who are coming to the planet are this time frame of human existence, what they consider to be the latter days, hence the word Latter Days and Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They believe these to be the last days, and so people who are coming now they believe that we existed in a spirit form before we came here, and people who are coming now are like the A team, man. It's like batting cleanup basically for the rest of all the years.
Oh,
So
your microphone's gone quiet.
oh, did it really? Maybe
Yeah.
it bounced away.
No, you're
How's
good.
that? Is that better?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Wow, it moves just a teeny bit away from my face and it goes quiet. So
Yeah,
how's that?
it's
What'd you
great.
miss?
Nothing. We caught it right on it.
Okay. So anyway, I felt entitled because of that. I mean, I was like, remember in Men in Black, it was, "We are the best of the best of the best, sir."
Yeah.
Well, I was the best of the best because I was saved for these latter days, and at least I was told that people who were born in the United States are more special spirits than those people who were born elsewhere. I was born to a Mormon family, pretty much, which makes me even super special, even more so than just some schlub born in, I don't know, Cincinnati who's not Mormon.
Right.
And then my skin was white, which means I was special versus, I mean, not that we don't like people of darker skin. Of course, we love them. They're children, God's children, but they're somehow flawed spiritually. So they were made with dark skin.
Well,
and then lastly, I have a penis.
Yeah.
And because of my penis, I'm preferred over 51% of the population automatically.
Right? Yeah, you're top of the food chain.
Oh, yeah. So I was the best of the best of the best, and I had this, I thought so. I mean, I'm the closest thing you can get to God on earth. They believe that God was once actually a mortal man. I'm not saying they're wrong. That's just what they believe, and is now what they call a celestial being. So, meaning like purified and stuff. So yeah, I was like, I am the shit. Look at me.
Yeah.
The only problem is I was on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to talk because I experienced a little bit of that. I forget what you call it, but you get I forget how old you are, but you get some sort of blessing that tells you the future. Yeah. And I don't know if I should talk. Do you know if that's bad to talk about? I don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers.
You might not want to then, because a lot of people think it. I mean, it's not like.
I guess it's somebody else's blessing that I know. I won't do it. It's yeah. Anyway, go ahead with. I'll just edit that out because I don't want to. Okay. I don't want to do anything controversial.
Anyway, I guess long story short, I got home from my mission and I, was a 21-year-old so full of himself you couldn't believe it. But I also had some on my mission. I had some experiences where I thought, wait a second, what's going on with God? And I've most of all, I ran into this guy who described my conversion experience. I had a spiritual awakening, kind of like in my program, in the big book, it talks about one of the founders, Bill Wilson, goes to Winchester Cathedral and he has this big moving experience spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I had an experience like that, and it felt like somebody put a 9-volt on the top of my head, but with water on it. So it's like, and I was talking to this guy. This guy was Jehovah's Witness, and I was getting ready to tell him, you know what, dude, I know I'm right. My faith is the true faith. So let me convert you. And he described my exact experience to me. It was like I was praying, and all of a sudden it felt like a 9-volt was on my head. I was like, oh shit, right. So that was the first chink in the armor. And then I came home and started looking at things. kind of more objectively.
Why was that a chink?
Because LDS people believe that if you want to know the truth about something, ask God. God will tell you that it's true. And by telling you that it's true, it means every other religion is false.
Right. And so with him experiencing the same thing, saying like God coming to him saying that, it was like, well, why did he have the same experience if his church isn't real? Is that what
exactly.
the chink is?
How can we both be right?
Oh, okay. I see.
How can mine be the only, you can't see my air quotes, but I'm doing it right now, the only true church, when obviously he had a confirmation from his God that his church was true, you know?
Okay.
And so that made me pause a little bit, but
ponder.
Also, yeah, ponder.
If you want to use the LDS term.
Sure. I think it's used elsewhere too.
Is it?
Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry, I know we're in a hurry, so I'm just going to try to push things along. I eventually started thinking about things, more and more things, and eventually I decided to part ways with the faith. I went to what they call the temple. It's like a sacred place for the LDS people. And I basically said goodbye to God. I said, look, the brain that you gave me has told me that you don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm done. I'm gonna part ways with this church, and I'm parting ways with you. I wish I would have had some guidance in that, because like if it was me talking to, I don't know, me 25 years, 30 years ago, whatever it was, 1989, I would have said, you know, just because you don't think the LDS church isn't true doesn't mean there's not a God. But see, I was raised to think that they were identical. So once I threw out the church, I threw out the God too, you know, baby with the bathwater kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was it. I left the church, and boy, you talk about going through opposite extremes. I had this confidence. I had this swagger that I was like this little God running around the planet. I could do anything. I had confidence. Okay, love. Bye-bye, Charlie. Bye-bye, Charlie. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Hey, I love you. You want to give me a hug? Okay. Should I come up or you want to come down? Okay. Come on, hurry. I love you. Oh, you're taller than I am on that stair, aren't you? Hey, will you be nice to Mama? Okay. Have a good day, Charlie. I'll see you tonight. Okay, sorry about that.
Hey, yeah, just hang on one sec. I'm calling the guy I work with to see where we're at.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, man? What are you thinking? Okay. Yeah, I just am calling I'm doing a podcast right now because I kind of screwed it up yesterday. And so I just wanted to see what the time frame was, how we're doing. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. All right, brother. I'll see you tonight. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Bye. Okay, we're good. We got time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. How much time have we been talking so far?
Let's see. We started at, I don't know, 9:40, 9:50. So we probably been about 40 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'll get moving. Okay. So I parted ways with the faith, and I went from, oh my gosh, I am like a superhero running around the planet, suddenly feeling I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
It was so tied to my identity that I literally felt lost.
Yeah.
I felt like Iron Man. I had gotten rid of a God. And dude, I was independent of my faith. I was a kid, and I can remember praying just to be close to whatever God was, you know?
Yeah.
So off I went, you know, at about, I left the church in like October, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Parted ways with it, I guess is maybe a term to use. And I
sorry, yeah. Dave, you're it went blank.
Oh, okay. I just came upstairs. Maybe I'll get closer to my router because I'm on Wi-Fi. So,
Okay.
hang on a second. Let me go back downstairs. Please hold one moment, Mr. Bollinger.
Thank you. Come again.
Thank you. Come again. Goodbye to Charlie. Goodbye to my wife, people. Oh, yeah. Love you, hon. Okay. Is that better?
Yep.
All right. Well, it's downstairs. Okay. So, anyway, I parted ways with the faith, and I went from feeling like I was this master of all I surveyed to feeling like a complete piece of shit. You know, I felt I had this connection with God, and all of a sudden I didn't have a connection with anything. You know,
Yeah.
that's a hell of a juxtaposition to make. So,
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing. It was like, okay, I don't believe in the LDS church, so I guess I'm an atheist.
yeah,
It was just, and it didn't make any sense. It went from having this structure and this belief system to, oh shit, what
yeah.
now? What am I doing?
Well, I think that's an unfortunate. That's why one reason, honestly, that I'm trying to be part of the cultural Mormon movement to say to people, hey, look, it's okay to not know. You don't have to.
Uh-oh.
Of the church
Dave,
and
I
no
lost you
shit.
again.
God damn it. I wonder why.
I don't know. I think usually if you stay in one spot, it'll generally get better. But since you
Okay.
went upstairs, downstairs, it probably is just readjusting.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought say connected to my Wi-Fi. So, how's that?
It's good.
Okay.
So
So
we were
I'll take it.
talking.
I'll take it one more time. You can edit all this last 10 minutes out.
Okay. Okay.
So I went from being this person who considered themselves the closest thing you could get to a god on the earth to all of a sudden thinking being lost. I didn't feel like, to me, the LDS Church and God were so woven together that if I left the one, I had to leave the other. I went from uh, full on believer to, well, I guess there's nothing there, so F it. There is
Yeah.
nothing there, and life is a ball of shit, and we're just gonna die.
Yeah.
Um, I wish I would have been able to tell myself, look, it's okay to have doubts, and it's okay to even not believe. Doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
you have to part ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can still go to church and roll your eyes whenever you don't agree with something. I wish I would have known that because that's what I do now. So,
Yeah.
anyway, on December 31st of 1989, turning into 1990, I went down to Arizona for my visit my mom, and then I went to Phoenix, Mesa, and stuff like that for a New Year's Eve celebration. And I went out on the town, and my buddy Lance picked up on two girls, and they were all drinking. I didn't have anything to drink, but I saw them have fun because they were drinking. They were able to dance, and I still dance. But I don't know. It seemed like they were having a lot of fun. So a couple of weeks later, I had some former roommates come up from California to visit, and they were going to stay at my little crappy student apartment. And they called when they were, I don't know, about an hour out, and they said, "Hey, dude, we're almost there." And I said, "Hey, I've been thinking about it. I just need to let you know that that I've parted ways with the faith. So my roommate drinks beer, even though it's against BYU policy. He's drinking beer, and I don't. But since I've left, a lot of people have ostracized me. They don't feel comfortable being around me, which is true. You guys, a head up. If you need to stay somewhere else, I get it. That's cool." And they're like, "Whatever, dude. You should start drinking too, because we're inactive," is what they call people who aren't practicing the faith,
Mm-hmm.
or lapsed, I guess, like for lapsed Catholic or whatever. So I said, "Well, you know what? It looked like it was fun, the booze thing. And if I'm ever going to do it, I've said I would do it in a safe place. Well, what's more safe than my apartment with my friends?"
Yeah.
So they got there, and we went with that roommate who was drinking beer. We went and got some booze and some beer, and went to it, playing quarters and laughing. And it tasted like cat piss, but man, I sure loved the way it made me feel.
Yeah.
And I drank 9 beers that first night.
It's a pretty good start.
That's a pretty good start. And that's just 9 beers that I had stacked up that I counted the cans. I might have done more because I went around at the end of the night. They were all passed out or asleep, whatever it was. And I went around and finished theirs.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at never forget, it was Janet Jackson's Escapade on VH1. On an escapade, baby. And I remember the TV was kind of shaking back and forth like I was on a boat. And I just thought, this is the best fucking thing I've ever had. This is awesome. And it was awesome for a number of reasons. One, yeah, it made me woozy. But two, probably more importantly, I felt that hole was gone. That God-sized hole. I would think of like Iron Man. You know, he has that big hole in his chest that he can fill up with. That was in my chest ever since I left the faith. I pulled God out, and I was empty. And all of a sudden, here came beer and filled it up. I could connect with my roommates, my former roommates better. My current roommate, I could connect with him better. Fuck, dude, I started talking about God again.
Yeah. Well, I always call it the God hole because I just I like how dirty it sounds. But yeah, I know what you mean. And you do anything to fill that void. I don't know what it is, but it's just this emptiness inside you.
Yeah.
But so you were filling it with beer, eh?
Yeah. Well, that first night I did beer and I woke up. Dude, how long have you lived in Canada? That was a
solid A.
You ended up with beer, eh?
The old beer, eh?
So sorry about that. So the next day I woke up, felt like ass, and my roommate said, my other two guys went skiing, and my roommate said, you know what's even better than beer? Whiskey. Let's go get some wild turkey, which we did. And I drank pretty much every day for 5 years. For about the first year and a half, I could still go to school and drink. But that last semester, you can see my grades, my transcripts. I looked at them not too long ago because I decided to go back to school to finish about a year ago. And my transcripts were like A's and B's, B's and C's. Uh-oh. And then boom, unofficial withdrawal, W or F, just all these horrible grades. And then I just fucking quit school. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I had started working as a musician and I had started teaching lessons like on the guitar and on the bass and stuff. And so I was like, why do I need this school nonsense? It's BS. Besides, I was pretty sure they were going to kick me out of school because they knew I was drinking. So but that might just be paranoia. I don't know. I didn't get caught, but I moved out and I quit school and that was it. And I just started working as a musician, which the dangerous thing about being a musician is that you can be drunk at gigs and nobody says much. You know what I mean? As long as you can play and sing, or just play if you're just an instrumentalist, nobody's going to complain too much. And really have any negative consequences that I could see anyway for about 5 years. Now, in March or so of 1995, I had been booked to go on a tour to like the Middle East, Istanbul, Turkey, and all these different places with a USO tour.
Uh-huh.
And primarily, I was just going to be a bassist on that tour. I wasn't going to be a singer, but I was background vocals and stuff. And I had done some pretty good gigs. I had a band that I'd started, and everything was going pretty well. But my dad got diagnosed with cancer in '95, and that was really when my drinking escalated a ton. I mean, I was already drinking a lot anyway, but it was all party, hey, woohoo! This was the first time I started really drinking to cover pain.
Why do you think was it just the fear?
Well, once I had the God-sized hole, the only sources of nobility and stability in my life then were my parents, because they're damn good people.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, oh shit, my dad, this rock of a human being that I'd seen, all of a sudden he was going to be gone, And I was terrified actually of what I would do when he wasn't there and what I would do when my mom went.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, if he goes, I go. I'm gonna drink myself to death. I'll wait till my mom goes. But if he goes, I'm just gonna drink myself to death. That was it. I made myself a commitment. And besides, that's what all the rock stars did, right?
Yeah.
Right? All those cats, they die young. Fuck it, I'll go too.
Yeah. Burn bright.
Oh, it's better to burn out than fade away,
Right.
right? So in '95, then I just straight up missed that USO tour. Never got called back, by the way, for that band. Because no wonder, right? I just left them in the lurch. Like, I'm not going to go. My dad's sick, and I'm going to just drink myself stupid.
Yeah.
But we're leaving in like 3 weeks, Dave. We need a bass player. Man, sorry.
So,
yeah, that was what I did.
so, and you were just, so you had a band, but this wasn't your band?
No, there are two. I mean, everybody always thinks about, when you think about a musician, you think of the, I don't know, whatever, Rolling Stones or Neon Trees or Rihanna or whatever. You know, well, not so much Rihanna. She's like a solo artist, but most bands, there is a way to be a professional musician that isn't at that level. It's you do what they call freelance work.
Uh-huh.
So when there is a band, there are cover bands, and obviously every band needs a bass player, which is why I chose the bass, amongst other reasons. I had two bands that I was in. One was called The Pigs, or The Three Pigs. We certainly were that, and we would go drinking ourselves stupid and playing gigs all over the West, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
No real negative consequences came from that. And I started a band with one of the guys in The Pigs. It was like a soul R&B disco kind of band. I was singing and playing bass, and all covers. And then I was in an original band where we'd write the songs and stuff, and that didn't really go anywhere, but it was sure fun.
Yeah.
Before I remember, I had tickets to go to the Eagles' Hell Freezes Over concert.
Uh-huh.
And I got this call from these people in Reno, and they said, our bassist had an aneurysm. We're supposed to play at this Club 90 place. So can you fill in? And I said, well, sure. Give me this cell. I said, I not only filled in and did an okay job, I fucking crushed it. Because I'm not bragging. I'm an extremely good bass player. Well, I can't do it for a living if I'm not good at it, right?
Right.
You're a perfect fit for us, because they knew they could just plot me into the situation and I would perform as well as or better than their normal bass player. So they said, hey, we're going to go on tour. Would you go with us? And 9 months later, sure enough, that materialized. But it was right after my dad's diagnosis, and I just said, no, I'm not going to go. I mean, I'd gotten my security clearance from the USO and all that shit,
Yeah.
you know. But I just completely bailed on him. I was like, nope, I got drinking to do. No, thank you. It was about 4 months after that I got a call from my buddy who said, hey, dude, we're going to go hiking up in the Uintas. It's like the biggest mountain range in Utah.
Yeah.
I said, that sounds like fun. So I went with him, and it was really weird, Ty, because I got, even though it was like 10 or 11,000 feet, I should have been acclimated pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Super bad altitude sickness, which I now realize is that I was detoxing.
Oh, really? It was just a mix?
Yeah. You can't go without alcohol for very long if you've been drinking consistently before your body goes into the DTs, right? So I'm like, I don't know why I'm shaking and puking so much. Well, it must be altitude sickness. And there might have been some of that there, but I'm sure it was I was detoxing. But anyway, on that trip, they told me, look, Dave, we're worried about you. You are drinking yourself, looks like to us, to death. You're starting, consequences are mounting. You need to get this under control. So I said, well, all right, I will. I can quit now. I think we've all said this, but I can quit. Right?
Yeah.
And they said, well, great, prove it to us. Quit for a month, which I said, okay. And I went home, and you know what I did for a month?
I didn't drink.
Absolutely. I would go home from work when I usually would pop open a beer and bought out my flask of whiskey and just drank myself stupid every night. And I would sit there literally grabbing the chair thinking, all right, come on, 30 days. And I did it. And then I said, see, I can, what's that?
I'll show those bastards.
Oh, yeah, totally. And you know what? I did it. I was right. The bad thing about that was it made me think that I had control, that I could do it anytime I wanted. And because apparently I could, right?
Yeah.
But after that,
But
I hit it even harder, right?
mm-hmm.
About 1997, I started thinking, gosh, I'm this is not good. So I had met a woman, Michelle, but everybody calls her Midge. She had a friend who went to AA, even though he was like a cokehead, or I guess that was maybe meth, I don't know, meetings. And through those meetings, he was able to get sober, right? Clean and sober.
Right.
And she said, so, dude, if you're really stuck, I'd become friends. I asked her out, and she said no, so we just became friends. Hey, there's hope there. Also, I started, when she said no, I started dating this other woman, and she, about 2 months into our relationship, she got hauled off to rehab.
Oh, shit.
And what's that?
Oh, I just said, oh, shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't know. I had no idea. She was a big cokehead and a drunk. And when she came back, I said, why didn't you ever drink with me? We could have had some awesome drunk fun. And she said, look, I'm such a drunk that I know it wouldn't have been enjoyable for me because I would have just been worried about offending you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you can't offend me.
We are the same.
So anyway, yeah. Anyway, but she had done so by doing AA, and so I said, well, okay, note to self, maybe someday I'll go there if I need it, if I ever do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 1996, my drinking escalated again because my grandmother died. My dad's parents lived away from us. They didn't live in the same town. They lived in St. John's, which is about an hour and a half away. Hour away. But my mom's parents lived in town, so I was really close to them. And she passed away, and guess what I did?
What?
I didn't go to the funeral. I drank myself stupid for 3 days.
Really?
And you know what? Yeah, and it disappointed my mom. I know it did. And I was like, fuck it. I don't care. I can't deal with this pain, which I couldn't. And I was grateful for alcohol being there so I could numb the pain.
Yeah.
But the same thing happened in 97. It escalated again because my grandfather, who I was even closer to in August of 97, died.
Oh.
And so once again, it escalated. And that's why I started, but I felt it escalate. And that's why I started asking around to like my Midge. I just started looking around because I was like, God damn, I am drinking too much.
Yeah.
And it continued for a while in that pretty high level. January of.
Hey, your mic's clicking.
Clicking.
Yeah, it's like doing a feedback thing, like.
Huh? Let me go maybe out to the car or something. She's gonna practice drums. Yeah, no, that's cool. Is there nothing else you can do? I'll go up to the car maybe then.
Well, are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking.
Huh.
Yeah, I'll do that. Ty, I'm gonna go to my car. Hang on a second.
Okay.
It's a little noisy, and I don't know what's going on with the headset, but I'll turn off my headset for a minute. Maybe that'll reset it.
Okay. Do you want me to call you back?
Yeah, I'll call back in like 5.
Okay, sounds good.